In this tale of fallen street legends, we are going to cover one of the saddest stories in Chicago's South Side, none than other but Munna Duke. Munna Duke, whose alias name is King Kong, born Rachon Vance, was born on February 13, 1994, in the South Side of Chicago. He later became a prominent figure associated with O-Block and gained recognition within the drill music movement. Duke was one of the early members of a group that eventually became known as We See City.
We do
Personally, I really don't be into interviews, you know what I'm saying? So it's they be asking too many police questions, so I don't be into that.
Yeah,
but,
I feel it.
I think it's a time for people to know who I am. People already know who I am, but personally,
that's what I was gonna ask, because I ain't gonna lie, you kind of like a mystery, because we've been paying attention to the Chicago drill scene for years, and so it's once I saw you and I did some research, I was like, oh, so how did you remain a mystery after all these years?
I ain't gonna say a mystery. People been knew me.
I wouldn't say a mystery, but
Yeah, it's I don't know. I just came. Once I came home, because I never really was rapping for real. So once I really came home and started rapping.
During the era referred to as the Get Back Gang, he played a significant role. This period was marked by ongoing retaliatory violence that followed the killing of T. Roy on Valentine's Day in 2017. Before becoming affiliated with O-Block and the Get Back Gang, Duke spent much of his childhood in one of the South Side's most infamous residential buildings. Randolph Tower, often called the Calumet Building, was widely known for heavy drug activity and crime. The harsh environment of the building influenced many young residents, some of whom later became involved in street conflicts. Among the well-known individuals who came from the Calumet Building was Lil B, a member of EBT, Wee Wee, Chicken from, So Icy from, Melly the Gravedigger from 051 Young Money, Woo, who is Melly's brother from 051 Young Money, Jermaine from Jarrow City, Skinny from Jarrow City, GB Capo from NLMB Front Street, Doo-Wop from NMB, T-Slick from O-Block NMB, Bruh Bruh from TF-A-Lock, E-Day from 600 Set, C-Day from 600 Set, Money Man from TY from 065 YMB, Ewal Samo, Lil Reese from Lamron, of course Lil Varney from Lamron. Get Back Gang is one of the nicknames associated with O-Block. While many people link its formation to the death of T. Roy on Valentine's Day in 2017, the movement originally began in response to the killing of Big A on December 4, 2016. GBG was largely organized and led by T. Roy's younger brother, HK, alongside several members from O-Block and affiliates from 600. During its most active period, the group became known for a series of deadly conflicts involving rival figures such as Lil Ho, Jamo, Poppy, FBG Brick, and Kobe Mack, as well as TB, Terry Berry, and Fredio. Other names tied to this violent stretch include Can't Get Right and Dusky, particularly during 2017 and 2018. The group's activity intensified significantly following T. Roy's death. HK was later killed, and by that time, GBG had evolved into a broader movement fueled by the losses of both Big A and T. Roy. During much of this period, King Von was incarcerated and did not witness these events firsthand. Others, including Rage, Duke, Trey 5, and Mikado, were also locked up. After Von's release, he began openly associating himself with GBG, even referencing it in his lyrics, including the line, "They say I, Von, sit back, 'cause Get Back Gang, they got my back." It has also been noted that Von claimed to have coordinated actions from prison, reflected in another lyric, "I done sent hits from my cell." Several GBG associated members who are still alive include Big One, Dello, E-Dog, DQ, Muwop, Cap 600, Gleesh, Wu-Thang, Duke Squad, Youngin, BJ, Louie, Bossan, Lil D 600, Manny 600, Porky 600, and Just Blow 600. There has also been speculation about the involvement of others such as C Murda, Booka 600, Breezy 600, and Memo 600. While their exact roles remain unclear, They were frequently around GBG members and at times publicly aligned themselves with the movement. This included Booker's widely discussed social media post after T-Roy's death and memo referencing GBG-related activity in his music while surrounded by O-Block members. He spent his formative years in the infamous Calumet building at 62117 S. Calumet Avenue, a 16-story residential tower that was once a key part of Chicago's public housing network under the Chicago Housing Authority. Built in the mid-1900s, the high-rise was eventually torn down in 2007 as part of a broader city effort to eliminate large housing projects and replace them with mixed-income developments. By the 1990s and early 2000s, the Calumet building had earned a notorious reputation as a base of operations for the Black disciples. Known on the streets as the Castle, it functioned as the center of a large-scale drug operation that reportedly brought in massive profits for the organization. While the demolition was intended to curb concentrated crime and poverty, it also resulted in gang members dispersing into surrounding neighborhoods, expanding their reach rather than eliminating it. 62117 S. Calumet was far more than just another housing complex. It became a cornerstone in Chicago's gang history. Numerous well-known figures from different crews traced their beginnings back to this building. Among them were Melly from 051 Young Money, whose stepfather Fido held a high-ranking position within the BDs, Lil Varney, Chief Wuck, T-Slick, and Lil Reese from Lamron, C-Day, E-Day, and Blast His Ass from 600, and Lil B from EBT, who initially came up through TMB. Even Jarrow City, now largely identified with the Gangster Disciples, was once called Dark Side and operated under BD influence, largely due to its close ties to the Calumet complex. That alignment changed when King Scan, a respected BD figure with strong personal ties to the area, transitioned the territory back to its original GD roots. King Scan, who is currently serving a 25-year prison sentence scheduled to conclude in 2025, is also the father of Lil Scan, Atra Mob, Evans Mob, and another son affiliated with Jarrow City. This layered history has even made its way into music. In Chief Keef's track The Talk, he references this background with the lyric, "My pops from the other side, dude, F him too," a line directed at his father Big F, a BD from Jarrow City's Dark Side period. Additional figures tied to the Calumet buildings include Capo, Doo-Wop, and Maneski from NLMB, Cortez, Courtney, Moneyman, and Face from TYMB, TY from TYMB after whom TYMB is named, Fredo Santana and Blood Money from Front Street, Poo Poo from SMB, Chicken So Icy and Wee Wee from EBT, and Bruh Bruh from THF 46 O-Block. Munna Duke himself, representing O-Block, stands among this list. The Calumet building was more than a housing project. It was a breeding ground for alliances, rivalries, and reputations that helped shape an entire chapter of Chicago's street history. Long after its demolition, its impact continues to resonate. When the Calumet building was demolished in 2007, Duke, along with many former residents, relocated to Parkway Gardens, now widely known as O-Block. At the time, it was simply another housing complex where kids played basketball, rode bikes, and spent time outside. Although violence existed, it had not yet reached the level of infamy the area would later become known for. In his early years at Parkway, Duke was involved in minor trouble, things like stealing bikes, getting into fights, and other typical youthful misbehavior. Over time, however, the environment hardened. What started as small-scale misconduct gradually escalated into serious and deadly conflicts. There is a widespread belief that Parkway Gardens was once GD controlled. While that idea isn't entirely false, the reality is more complicated. Between roughly 2005 and 2007, Parkway did not have a clearly defined gang identity. Crime was present, but it mostly involved a loosely connected group of neighborhood friends rather than an organized structure. During that period, the block was not firmly aligned with either the BD or the Gs. Before Parkway developed its own reputation, the area functioned as a crossroads for multiple affiliations: GD, BD, Black P. Stones from the east side and even Mickey Cobras from the low end could be seen moving through the neighborhood. The atmosphere was calm enough that people regularly gathered outside the gates or lingered near local stores without fear of major conflict. That calm began to fade around 2007 when figures like Boss Top, Odie, and Platoon started spending more time in the area. Their presence marked a turning point as Parkway Gardens began forming a distinct identity and the energy of the block shifted permanently. Munna Duke and FBG Cash also had a history of online exchanges, including public disses and direct messages that surfaced years ago. The idea that Parkway Gardens once fell under GD influence is tied largely to Boss Top's background. Boss Top originally came from No Love City, NLC, a GD-affiliated set. When he and his close associate Spike moved into Parkway Gardens, they brought several NLC affiliates with them. Spike, in particular, was well known in No Love City and had a reputation for hustling alongside respected figures such as The Godfather, a notable OG within the set. During that period, before Parkway Gardens fully evolved into what would later be known as WIC City, the neighborhood was strongly influenced by individuals from No Love. One of the most significant figures brought into the area was Big A, who would later rise to become one of O-Block's most respected and feared members. By the late 2000s, the dynamics began to change. Around 2007 to 2008, an increasing number of black disciples started relocating into Parkway Gardens, introducing new loyalties and codes. Well-known BD members such as Reezy, Bruh, Slick, Willie, and Freak established themselves in the area. These individuals were deeply rooted in BD traditions and openly embraced being GDK, which caused friction with the long-standing GD influence from No Love. Tensions steadily grew. While the conflict didn't immediately escalate into shootings, it resulted in frequent fights and heated confrontations. Over time, even some original No Love affiliates, including Boss Top, BJ, and Big A, eventually switched allegiances and became BDs, though they continued to acknowledge and respect their No Love origins. The defining moment came in 2008 when Parkway Gardens became involved in a conflict with the Met Boys. This confrontation elevated Bruh's status within the neighborhood. His leadership and presence played a major role in shaping Parkway's emerging street identity. Bruh, born Kenyatta Clare, originally came from 46th Street and was affiliated with the Trigger Happy family, THF. He rose alongside figures such as Baby Zoo and Bob O, and was present when senior members of 46 Terror officially established THF. After relocating to Parkway Gardens, Bruh brought existing rivalries with him, most notably the ongoing conflict with the Met Boys, which further cemented Parkway's transformation. Things escalated quickly. Bruh was allegedly involved in a shooting targeting Met Boys members. They retaliated by opening fire in Parkway, targeting him and others. That single act set the stage for deeper conflict. Because of their close ties to Bruh, figures like Boss Top, BJ, and Big A were pulled into the beef. Not long after, 051 formed an alliance with the Met Boys and labeled Parkway Die Y, sparking what would become a long-running feud between Parkway Gardens and 051. By 2009, as Black disciple influence continued to expand within Parkway Gardens, there was a growing need for a distinct name that reflected their control of the area. That's when the term Wild, Insane, Crazy emerged. It was later shortened to WIC City, and eventually stylized as IIC City, often pronounced Weak City. The use of 3 I's was intentional, mirroring BD traditions seen in names like Jaro City. This shift officially cemented Parkway Gardens as BD territory. Around the same time, STL was organizing across the railroad tracks. Before Parkway's long-standing conflicts with STL and EBT took shape, its earliest major opposition actually came from within. At the time, a group known as SKD, South King Drive, operated from 51st to 62nd Street. SKD wasn't merely a loose clique. It was a structured effort to assert control over Parkway Gardens. However, local figures such as Boss Top, J Money, and others resisted heavily. They refused to submit to SKD's authority and began targeting its members through robberies and physical attacks. SKD responded by escalating the situation, pulling up to Parkway and opening fire on known individuals. Parkway eventually retaliated. J Money is widely believed to have been responsible for the killing of Reggie, a member of SKD. Shortly afterward, Anton, another SKD affiliate, was also killed. These losses severely weakened SKD, causing the group to lose influence and ultimately fall apart. Former SKD members scattered, some aligning with EBT, others joining STL or Jarrow City. The collapse of SKD marked a major power shift around Parkway Gardens. Throughout this period, Munna Duke, born Rachon Vance, was still very young, roughly 13 or 14 years old. Compared to older figures like Boss Top, Odie, Trey 5, and Bangman, he was viewed as a kid. But in street culture, even a small age gap matters. Duke was considered a young prospect, closely observing and learning from the older, established members around him. Between 2009 and 2010, tensions between Parkway, now YC City, and STL EBT were beginning to surface. At that stage, the conflict had not yet escalated into deadly gun violence. Most encounters involved fistfights, after-school clashes, block-wide scuffles, and occasions where STL or EBT members would enter Parkway simply to fight. Duke was involved in many of these early confrontations, and despite his youth, he gained respect for standing his ground. He was among the youngest actively involved, steadily building his name during these formative years. Munna Duke officially became active in the streets around 2008 or 2009, at approximately 14 or 15 years old. Early on, the disputes he encountered were mostly physical, fights and minor incidents rather than shootings. At that point, the conflict had not yet reached the extreme levels it would later become known for. That shift came in 2011, following a series of pivotal events. The killing of Tuka in 2011, allegedly carried out by OD of Weesey City with assistance from TMB, served as a major turning point. Tuka's death set off a rapid chain reaction. Soon afterward, OD himself was shot and killed by members of STL MOB. From that moment on, violence escalated dramatically. BD-aligned groups, particularly O-Block and 600, entered direct conflict with GD sets such as STL, Jarrow City, and MOB. Other BD-affiliated crews, including Lamron and Front Street, were also drawn into the growing war. Duke's legal troubles began early. His first recorded arrest occurred in 2008, when he was just 14 years old. Due to his age, details are limited, but it was likely for a minor offense such as trespassing. This arrest marked the start of a long pattern of encounters with law enforcement. Over the years, Duke would accumulate more than 30 arrests for various charges. By 2012, those charges had grown more serious. On March 18th, he was arrested for illegal gambling. Less than a month later, he was taken into custody for marijuana possession. Just 2 weeks after that, he was arrested again, this time for robbery. While the earlier offenses resulted in minimal jail time, the robbery charge led to a much longer sentence. Duke served roughly a year and was released in May 2013. Not long after his release, he was arrested once more for retail theft. Because he was still on parole, this resulted in additional time behind bars. Even during periods when he was free, Duke's involvement in street activity continued to increase.
Go on that road. I like we ain't out here. Yeah, come roll, yeah.
Ain't no service. Ain't no service, but I'm.
That's real dookie roll right there.
Meaty. Oh, get that meaty. We ain't around. I would say this all summer, but yeah, this all summer. This our decade, no.
Tommy. Yeah.
Tommy.
Yeah. What's up? Hey, show on that me roll, DQ. Show on that roll. Show on that roll. I like we ain't out here. Yeah, come roll, yeah.
Ain't no service. Ain't no service, but I'm.
That's real dookie roll right there.
Meaty. Oh, get that meaty. We ain't around. I would say.
I got the aqua. I got all the awesome. We outside. You know that.
I be seeing you doing interviews with all them goofy ass niggas. I'm both fucking nigga. You shouldn't be doing all that interviews with me. I ain't gonna lie to you. You should just do it.
While no confirmed homicides are directly linked to him during this early phase, it is widely believed that he took part in shootings and was present during key retaliatory actions alongside other O Block members. Over time, he earned the respect of senior figures within the set and became part of O Block's inner circle. Old photographs frequently show Duke alongside King Von and T. Roy, reinforcing his status not merely as an associate, but as a recognized and respected member of the group. By 2015 to 2016, Munna Duke had begun carving out a reputation in the streets. However, it wasn't until after King Von's death in 2017 that Duke emerged as one of the most prominent faces of O Block during the peak of the Get Back Gang era. Yet it was the murder of T. Roy that left the deepest mark on him. Those close to the situation said it fundamentally changed Duke, fueling a heightened drive for retaliation. O Block had endured multiple losses leading up to this period. In 2016 alone, Duke lost two close allies, Shano and Big A, to violence. Then, in early 2017, on Valentine's Day, tragedy struck again. T. Roy, O Block's top shooter and Duke's longtime friend, was gunned down inside a convenience store on East 71st Street. The alleged shooter was TB of Taekwon World. Reports indicate that T. Roy had been actively tracking TB that day. After spotting him in photos, T. Roy reportedly followed him to a street in Paxtown, a neighborhood TB was known to frequent. Sources say Brick of STL EBT, who lived in Paxtown, saw T. Roy and alerted TB. TB, accompanied by 2 times from Taekwon World and Can't Get Right, CGR from STL EBT, returned after preparing and changing clothes. Surveillance footage captured TB and CGR entering the store, standing next to T. Roy. Moments later, TB drew a firearm and shot T. Roy in the chest before fleeing with CGR. Despite clear video evidence and witness accounts, TB was never charged. For Taekwon World and their allies, T. Roy's death was a symbolic victory. T. Roy was one of O Block's most feared members, alongside King Von, and was believed to have been involved in numerous shootings. His death left a significant power vacuum. The day after the killing, Booka 600 tweeted, "Y'all don't know the half of what's finna transpire." That post signaled the start of an aggressive wave of retaliation. Although Get Back Gang had existed in some form following Big A's death, T. Roy's murder gave the group renewed purpose and momentum. Duke, personally affected by the loss, stepped up, regularly taking part in sliding operations alongside E-Dog, HK, BJ, and others, targeting rival sets including Jaro City, STL, and especially Taekwon World. This period also marked the start of Duke's alleged involvement in homicides. On May 14, 2017, a high-profile killing widely regarded as the beginning of Get Back Gang's retaliation occurred. Lil Ho, a Jaro City member, was standing with a group near East 62nd Street and Eberhart Avenue when 4 shooters emerged from an alley and opened fire. The attackers reportedly used 3 firearms, a 9mm, a .40, and a .45 caliber handgun. Lil Ho tried to escape but collapsed a block away. One shooter allegedly approached and fired additional rounds into his head before fleeing. Over 30 shell casings were recovered at the scene, and the shooters escaped in a red vehicle. Duke is alleged to have been among the assailants, alongside Mikado, Gleesh, and E-Dog. The attack sent a clear message. Even older, established figures like Lil Ho were not untouchable. Although Duke had no role in T-Roy's death, Lil Ho's connections to Jaro City made him a target. Interestingly, Lil Ho was Breezy's uncle from 600. Despite the familial tie, Breezy publicly acknowledged the context and paid his respects, while still recognizing Lil Ho as an op. This event solidified Duke's reputation as a key player in O-Block's retaliation efforts. He was no longer just an active street member. He had become a central figure in one of the deadliest phases of the BDGD conflict. By the summer of 2017, Munna Duke and HK had emerged as 2 of O-Block's most prominent figures, leading the charge in the Get Back Gang retaliation wave. On June 2nd, E-Dog from O-Block tweeted, "Summer 2K17, lotta Get Back Gang. Shite bout to be going on," tagging it with "It's gonna be a cold-ass summer." That cryptic warning soon turned prophetic. On June 16, 2017, Taekwon World suffered a major blow when Poppy, closely tied to the late TB, was shot and killed. Despite his deep street affiliations, Poppy had recently taken a job at L&P Wholesale Candy Company on South State Street, a location within DOD territory. The DOD set, allied with the BDs and connected to Front Street, was hardly neutral ground, particularly for someone linked to Taekwon World. The reasons behind Poppy's decision to work there remain unclear, but many believe Taekwon World underestimated just how far O-Block and 600 would go in avenging T-Roy. On the day of the shooting, an elderly woman asked the store manager for help with her groceries. Poppy stepped outside to assist, loading bags into her car. As he did, a masked figure approached, reportedly carrying an AK-style firearm. Within seconds, gunfire erupted. 5 shots were fired, 3 striking Poppy in the head. He was rushed to Stroger Hospital, but succumbed to his injuries 3 hours later. The alleged gunman was HK, T-Roy's younger brother, later infamous as Headshot King. Munna Duke was reportedly the getaway driver, though police scanners mentioned 2 shooters, leaving open the possibility that Duke also fired. Given how shooters rarely act alone in high-risk hits, it's plausible he actively participated. A video surfaced afterward, showing HK calmly smoking, captioned, "Poppywood," seemingly confirming his involvement while mocking the victim. Poppy's death quickly became a flashpoint online, fueled by rumors that he had been involved in the killing of Chino, BJ's brother from O-Block. The backstory suggests Chino had shot Poppy's cousin, Young from STL EBT, prompting retaliation from Poppy. Alternate theories, however, suggest No Love City, rather than Taekwon World, orchestrated Chino's murder. As a core member of Get Back Gang, Duke frequently referenced his alliance with HK in music, notably on his track 12 AM, rapping, "Get Back Gang, that's me and Heck." The group's lethal efficiency was enhanced by tactical intelligence from allied BD sets, who supplied information on targets, vehicles, and addresses. With this coordinated support, O-Block and 600 operated with precision and relentless focus. Exactly 1 month later, on July 17, 2017, OB-600 executed another strategic ambush, killing Brick and his cousin Kobe Mack, both prominent STL EBT members. Brick had allegedly leaked T-Roy's location to TB and Get Right, making him a prime target. The two were standing on the 6300 block of South St. Lawrence when OB-600 was tipped off about their presence. Two vehicles were used. One parked at 6312 S Roads, while a white SUV pulled up near the curb. A shooter exited and fired 9 rounds at Kobe, hitting him 4 times in the face. Brick attempted to escape but was chased into a nearby gangway where additional shooters waited. He was struck 6 times, including once beneath the right eye. Both men died on the scene. Investigators later named C. Murda from O Block and Cap F12 from 600 as suspects. C. Murda also faces life imprisonment for his alleged role in the high-profile FBG Duck case. Others implicated include HK, Trey 5 of O Block, and Mikado of 600, believed to have shot Kobe. Munna Duke's name surfaced because he was photographed with Cap F12 that day. While circumstantial, his seniority and frequent presence in major operations suggest he may have been involved. After TB's murder, law enforcement reported 2 cars fleeing the scene, a black 4-door sedan containing 2 masked individuals, one matching Mikado's light-skinned profile, and a white Dodge Charger. This 2-vehicle setup indicates OB600 used coordinated tactics to locate TB. Muwap and Munna Duke were rumored participants. Following Duke's own death, Mook from Taekwon World posted a tribute photo of TB and Poppy, a symbolic gesture signifying ongoing retribution. Duke had repeatedly mocked TB online and frequently claimed Get Back Gang as essentially me and HK. After TB's killing, Maka posted a photo of himself and HKHK flashing LA signs in celebration. Disrespect toward TB spread rapidly online, though some acknowledged his audacity. Lil Jarrell tweeted, "Long live T-Roy Slayer," while LC from Taekwon World referred to him as Mr. T-Roy Slayer. Ironically, TB's final Facebook post that morning read, "I'm feeling blessed today." Roughly 2.5 months after T-Roy's death, the long-awaited retaliation finally arrived. On September 26, 2017, TB was spotted on the 7000 block of South Chapel Avenue with Side from Jaro City, just minutes from the location where T-Roy had been killed. Despite being a high-priority target, TB continued frequenting the area, a dangerous gamble with O-Block actively hunting him. HK had reportedly been canvassing the neighborhood for weeks, and on that day, Moose Block allegedly provided TB's exact location. HK, alongside Mikado and Munna Duke, got in motion. They found TB inside sitting casually on a porch with 2 others. HK and Mikado exited the vehicle and opened fire, striking TB inside multiple times, including repeated headshots. Witnesses claimed the shooters reloaded and continued firing before fleeing the scene. TB-21 was pronounced dead at Northwestern Hospital. Though Side initially survived a shot to the head, he was later murdered in 2019 alongside Motor from Jaro City, another hit reportedly executed by Gino from THF-46. Munna Duke and the formation of Get Back Gang. When King Von was released from jail in late 2017, he quickly re-established ties with O-Block, particularly with Munna Duke, a figure he deeply respected. Duke was not only an original O-Block member, but also someone who had already earned a strong reputation in the streets. Von frequently referenced Duke in his lyrics and featured him in music videos. For instance, in Problems, where the camera focuses on Duke as Von raps, "They catching bodies for me." Their bond was both personal and professional, rooted in mutual respect. Duke played a key role in mentoring HK, T-Roy's younger brother, guiding him as he assumed leadership of Get Back Gang, a crew formed to avenge T-Roy's death. Under Duke's influence, HK went on to orchestrate several high-profile hits, including the murder of TB, widely believed to have been responsible for T-Roy's death. The murder of TB. On the morning of September 26, 2017, TB posted on Facebook, "I'm feeling blessed today." Hours later, he was dead. Police responded swiftly. Witnesses reported seeing a black 4-door vehicle with 2 masked individuals, one matching Mikado's light-skinned complexion. A second car, a white Dodge Charger, was also seen fleeing the scene, suggesting a coordinated 2-car operation, likely orchestrated by O-Block. Muwap and Munna Duke are widely believed to have been directly involved. TB's death sent shockwaves across gang networks. Mikado later posted a photo of himself and HK throwing up LA hand signs, symbolically celebrating the hit. After Duke's death, Mook from Taekwon World posted a tribute of TB and Poppy, an unspoken code signaling that the person responsible for their deaths had now been killed. TB's killing also reignited rumors that he had been the one to murder T-Roy. The streets responded. Lil Gerald tweeted, "Long live T-Roy Slayer," while LC dubbed him Mr. T-Roy Slayer. The conflict was far from over. HK's death and Duke's reaction. On November 24, 2017, HK was killed during an attempted robbery in Parkway Gardens. He and Mikado attempted to rob a 25-year-old man who was legally armed. The man fired back, striking HK, who died on the scene, while Mikado and Lil D escaped. No charges were filed, as the shooting was ruled self-defense. The impact of HK's death was significant. Rival crews, including Taekwon World, mocked the loss, posting messages like FHK, Long Live Biko, and Poppy. Within O Block, however, HK was honored as a hero, receiving tributes from figures like Lil Durk. Duke, who had mentored HK, took the loss especially hard. HK was family to him. The get back on get right. After a period of relative quiet, the summer of 2018 saw violence spike again. Get Back Gang had one remaining target, Get Right, who had been present during T-Roy's murder. On June 15, 2018, word spread that Get Right was outside a store on 63rd Street. Munna Duke and Muwop arrived at the location. Duke allegedly fired first, hitting Get Right in the back. Muwop simultaneously shot an innocent bystander, Troy, a janitor, before delivering additional shots to finish Get Right. During their escape, Rasta from EBT returned fire, narrowly missing Duke. Although some rumors suggested O Block wasn't involved, mounting evidence pointed to Duke and Muwop. Wooski tweeted, "Get Right, these people not outside," hinting at outside involvement. King Von mocked Get Right on Instagram Live days later, and social media posts and lyrics followed. E-Dog tweeted, "You better get right or get left," while Von declared, "Shout out that new op pack my brothers made it." Further confirmation came from cryptic posts by Duke and Muwop. In one image, Duke points a gun at the ground while Muwop aims straight ahead, mirroring the positions from the shooting. Muwop later captioned the photo, "You got the right, I got the left. We gon' meet back up. Free Duke." Von's lyrics in 2 AM and Beat That Body reinforced the narrative, and even STL EBT's Lil P acknowledged O Block's involvement. Duke's downfall and time behind bars. In November 2019, Munna Duke was arrested on a gun-related charge and sentenced to 2 years in prison. While incarcerated, he received devastating news. King Von had been murdered. Duke never got to witness Von's rise to fame, despite Von often saying, "We gon' buy them all when they free Duke." Duke was released on parole in 2021 and received support from his community, including Lil Durk. He pursued a rap career, releasing singles like 12 AM and Winnin', and eventually his debut album, Welcome to the Jungle, in 2023. The project featured collaborators like E-Dog and Shoebox Baby, but it failed to make a major impact. Duke appeared uninspired, and attention had shifted to O Block members involved in the aftermath of FBG Duck's murder. The murder of Munna Duke and Youngin Tragedy struck again on May 10, 2025, at approximately 1:20 a.m. near Pork Chop BBQ on N Broadway. Gunfire erupted, hitting 3 men. Youngin, 28, was struck multiple times and died at St. Francis Hospital. Munna Duke, 31, was shot in the chest and later pronounced dead at Weiss Hospital. A third man, possibly Domo from 600, survived. Initial reports described the attack as a drive-by, but alternative accounts emerged. One woman claimed her daughter saw a masked man pacing outside a nearby bar, while another stated 2 shooters exited a car, fired over 50 rounds, and then fled. The sheer volume of firepower suggests the involvement of 2 shooters. Police later discovered a burned-out getaway car, an Infiniti Q50 on East 134th Place, deep in Ghoulie Gang territory. Surveillance footage confirmed the vehicle's involvement. Sources close to the investigation believe this was BD on BD violence, ruling out GD sets like STL, Taekwon World, or Jaro City. Ghoulie Gang, also known as 1/30th or Bloodbath, had motive, proximity, and later posted cryptic social media jabs following the killings. The streets reacted immediately. Rival crews, including Taekwon World, celebrated Duke's death, even though they were not directly responsible. Their animosity stemmed from Duke's alleged involvement in the murders of TB, Poppy, Brick, Kobe, and Get Right. O Block mourned deeply. A balloon release was held in his honor, drawing nearly the entire community. Trey 5 even attended, despite his reputation as a known cooperator. His presence went unchallenged, out of respect for Duke. Munna Duke's death marked one of O Block's most significant losses. From the very beginning, he had been involved in every major chapter of the set and was an irreplaceable figure in the Get Back Gang era. Lessons from Munna Duke's story. The impact of environment on life choices. Munna Duke grew up in the Calumet building, a place known for poverty, violence, and entrenched gang culture. This environment shaped his worldview, opportunities, and strategies for survival. The building wasn't just a home, it was a hub for street influence that impacted countless young people. Limited access to resources, education, and positive role models narrowed life choices. In neighborhoods where violence and drug culture are normalized, alternative paths can feel almost impossible. Systemic neglect and urban poverty create conditions where violence becomes a means of protection, identity, and even survival. Addressing these challenges requires investments in education, job training, mental health services, and safe spaces for youth. The destructive cycle of retaliation and revenge. The creation of Get Back Gang was fueled by grief and the desire for revenge. The deaths of T-Roy and Big A sparked a chain reaction of retaliatory killings. Each act of violence was a response to a previous one, perpetuating a cycle of loss. Revenge traps individuals in a toxic pattern where more families suffer and opportunities for peace vanish. Loyalty, pride, and fear often drive people deeper into the cycle. Takeaway: retaliation only perpetuates violence and grief. True strength lies in breaking this cycle through conflict resolution, community support, and personal decisions to step away from the streets. The double-edged sword of music and influence. Munna Duke's music gained traction online, particularly within the drill scene, a genre closely tied to Chicago street culture. Drill music gave voice to the experiences of many young people living in violent environments. For Duke, it provided an outlet to share his story and connect with others. However, drill music can also be a double-edged sword. Lyrics and videos often glorify violence and rivalries, sometimes escalating real-world conflicts. They can also serve as evidence in legal cases or fuel tensions among rival groups. Lesson: music and art hold immense power. They can inspire, but they can also harm. Artistic expression that glorifies violence can deepen existing conflicts. Communities and artists must explore ways to express pain and struggle without perpetuating harm. Understanding the historical and social context. The history of the Calumet building and its connection to Chicago gangs highlights the deep-rooted social factors shaping today's street dynamics. Demolitions of public housing, while intended to reduce crime, sometimes displaced gang influence across neighborhoods. Many gangs carry generational histories with entrenched rivalries, alliances, and territorial claims. Lesson: addressing violence requires more than punishing individuals. It demands acknowledgement of decades of social, economic, and political challenges. Sustainable change involves comprehensive strategies encompassing housing, education, and economic opportunities. The harsh reality of the streets. Despite the loyalty, brotherhood, and notoriety offered by street life, it is often unforgiving. Many who rise in reputation face death or incarceration, as Duke and numerous peers tragically did. The street code may demand loyalty, but it offers little protection against betrayal, legal consequences, or mortality. The fleeting glory is often replaced by grief and loss. Lesson: life on the streets can provide temporary power, but comes at a devastating cost. Recognizing the false allure of gang life is essential while promoting alternatives that provide lasting stability, respect, and safety. Every life has untapped potential. Munna Duke's story reminds us that behind every headline about violence is a complex human being with potential. He was more than a gang member or rapper. He was a young person profoundly shaped by his environment. Many youth caught in cycles of violence could thrive if given access to education, mentorship, and opportunities. Lesson: early intervention can save lives. Programs emphasizing mentorship, mental health support, education, and career development can help young people envision and build alternative futures. Once someone becomes entrenched in cycles of violence or incarceration, transformation becomes much harder. Community and systemic responsibility. This story is not solely about individuals. It reflects broader systemic issues. Public housing projects like the Calumet building were products of policies that concentrated poverty and racial segregation. Law enforcement, social services, and local government play roles in both the challenges and solutions. Community organizations and activists often try to bridge the gap, but require greater support. Lesson: sustainable change depends on collaboration between communities, government, and social institutions. Addressing systemic racism, economic inequality, and gaps in social services is critical to breaking cycles of violence. My final thoughts. Munna Duke's story is a microcosm of a larger reality experienced by many youth in Chicago and similar cities. The environment molds people's paths. Violence breeds violence. Music and culture reflect pain, but can also escalate conflicts. History and policy shape present struggles. The streets offer fleeting power, but mostly destruction. Every life holds potential, if given support. Collective effort is needed for change. Understanding these lessons deeply can guide policymakers, community leaders, families, and individuals toward creating safer, healthier, and more hopeful futures.